out of 10, it was a good idea to go with it.
That's right.
So go brave. Live streamed, so we are on.
Frank, congratulations on your new book.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's in the last leg. It was a lot of work. I was on the phone with the publisher for 4 hours going through
Wow.
page by page.
So how many versions did it take you?
Two sets of proofs. We printed one proof book, 2 books, one for him, one for me. And then we found so many things that needed to be changed up. We printed another book, and then we spent 2 hours in that as well. So hopefully it's okay now.
Yeah, yeah.
But I haven't received my copies yet. It was only published 2 days ago.
Right.
So
yeah.
I should get my copies in about a week.
Congratulations. What is the subject of the book?
It's nonfiction. It's about a certain aspect of major depression.
Oh, okay.
And Heather, I had her look at some of the parts before.
Okay.
She describes it as informative and entertaining.
Okay.
You know, Frank, some aspects of it are entertaining from what you've read so far.
Well, there are some clinical situations I described. So I did explain that it was fictional, but it's based on actual cases.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just telling you guys.
Well, we'll have to have a possibly a book launch for you there, Frank. I don't know what we'll have to check with Motilal and Gusha and
Yes, sure. Congratulations, Frank.
Yeah, thanks.
So yes, we could do something, 10 extracts and
Yeah,
we could read, but we could work on that.
yeah.
I've just been to I don't know if you know what is Chowtal.
Chowtal. Is that an instrument?
No, that is songs you sing for Pagwa.
Oh, okay.
I've just coming from a village celebration and just coming here.
Oh,
Gosha, I'll send you a little clip. I don't know if you want to play it. This Chowtal.
Hi, I'm running the meeting from my phone. So you may have better luck than I do. I just tried sharing something and it didn't work.
I might have better luck, but I do have the know-how. But I'll put it up on Facebook so we could all see it later.
Okay.
Oh, what is dantal then?
Dantal is a percussion instrument.
Oh,
actually, is a finely tuned piece of iron that you
beat
with
I mixed up chowtal
with a horse shooting.
Yeah.
Chowtal is the songs you sing at Pagwa. Pagwa is where you throw the abir and
yes. Where's your abir?
I have no abir. Actually the celebration is next week, the Pagwa Day, but the village have something today, so that it wouldn't clash with the bigger celebrations.
I see.
So I just come in from one, and boy, talk about food. Shada, pumpkin, and roti, and curry, and bhaji, and oh God.
I'm getting hungry.
Motilal, don't torture me now because I haven't even had lunch. I don't have lunch.
Well, girl, I feel it a little uncomfortable because I think I overdo it.
Well,
He's
it's all right.
showing off.
I will stay. I will stay without. It's okay.
It was really good to, to see the village come together.
Where was this?
Gopi Trace, there's a Pinal where I live.
Oh, well, okay. I've never been there. But I can still go one day when I'm back home.
Next week, Saturday or so, there'll be a lot of celebrations all over the country.
Ah,
That. Arangwe, Savannah used to have big thing, and
yes.
in the various recreation grounds all in the country. So this was by one of my friends' home.
Okay,
So he came and invited. I had to go,
excellent.
but I'm glad I did.
Mutilal, it's good to see you getting out and being your old self again.
Yeah, girl. Actually, I drive today. Savi didn't drive.
So-
and I,
All
and
right.
I went with my 1960 console, Ford console.
Oh, nice.
Okay. All right. Glad to be here.
Yes, nice to have you. All right. It is Mutilal and Heather. You guys are co-hosts. And it's 1:03, so we're going to start the meeting. Welcome to Poetry and Prose, to all our readers, our guests, our regulars, and newcomers. It is the 1st of March, 2026, and this is our open mic. And if you haven't been listed to read and you'd like to read, there should be space at the end. All righty. And we're going to start off with Heather. Heather will be reading for us today, Love in Calabash Row. Heather, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Gersha. I wrote this story for really last month when it was Carnival and Valentine's Day occurring at the same time. But because I had surgery, I'm still kind of a little shaky. But anyway, this story references Orpheus and Eurydice, who were the precursors to the Romeo and Juliet story. This is from Virgil. It was taught in Latin at QRC and probably bishops back in our day. I think Helen's here. She might be able to vouch for the fact that we had Latin at one time, but Jenny Lynn said by her time, they didn't have it anymore. Anyway, this story is set in Carnival, and it's a love story of some kind. We'll see at the end. Orpheus and Eurydice of Calabash Row. Calabash Row was a small lane in the Laventille section of Port of Spain. It consisted of a handful of houses where every household was devoted to Carnival in some form or another. If you walked down Calabash Row of an evening, your senses would be assailed by the smells of delicious Caribbean food cooking in every kitchen. You would hear the music of pan from a paniard as players practiced riffs. You would witness the crack of a ball on a bat as little children played cricket on the sidewalk. See older boys and girls reading their lessons on the front porches. Hear Mackenzie teaching piano in her drawing room to her students. And sense the whir of a sewing machine in the house across the street as Ma Ambrose sewed up costumes for Carnival. This forgotten little alcove in the great city of Port of Spain was always humming, its heart beating in tandem with the rhythm of life itself. Of its handful of residents, Kevin D'Souza was a band leader. He arranged the hierarchy of the hooligans every year, working with the steel band manager, Jepson, also known as Jep, named for the stinging insect, to learn up the road march, and with the costumier Ma Ambrose and her sewing school to sew up costumes for not only the band king and queen, but the rank and file of the carnival band itself. From the time Carnival done on Ash Wednesday, work began anew for next Carnival. It was a never-ending task into which people poured their life's ambition. For Kevin, from a small boy running naked with other children in the street, he was smitten with mass. Olia, let we form up we own carnival band now, he said to his crew, Ambrose, Jepson, Curly, and Eric, their neighborhood ragamuffins. Yeah, we go do that, sure, one day, Jepson say, and the rest of the boys nodded in agreement. By the time high school came around, the boys all won spots at the prestigious Queen's Royal College. There, Kevin in particular, brain man who read Hesse and Kafka, was introduced to Latin. It came like second nature to him. He excelled in it. Virgil was his favorite, the story of Orpheus and Eurydice in particular. It was when he and the boys joined the Curiosity Film Society and they saw the 1959 movie called Black Orpheus, produced by Marcel Camus, that Kevin's love of this Greek tragedy became an obsession. Set in Brazil during carnival time, it had everything in it: love, fulfillment, death, longing, grief, and a tragic outcome. It was tabanca for so, and you know how Trinis love a good tabanca. We go make that we theme come some carnival, Kevin told the boys. The film happened in Carnival in Rio in Brazil. We go bring it to we Carnival here in Port of Spain. Man, Carnival here too full up of the usual themes en masse. Robber, sailor, Apache, glory of Rome, Aztec nation and thing. We go be different. We go cuff down the competition. Man, that was movie father. You see how the music vibe was so tropical, like a smooth samba, said Panman Jep. Antonio Carlos Jobim. He's the boss man in music. That film introduced bossa nova to the world. Man, I go teach myself the tunes on the pan. Jep knew his riffs. Ma could sew up some costumes, said Ambrose. But we go get Curly to do the drawings first. He's the art man. The boys watched the film over and over to scrutinize every scene, and Kevin studied up his Virgil with a new focus, ace in Latin that year. Still, it was a few years after graduation from QRC that the boys felt they finally had the means to mount a carnival band on their own. Curly, Kevin, and Eric get together to design up costumes. In between plans for the upcoming carnival, the boys went to their respective jobs as teachers, government clerks, and a newspaper writer in the case of Kevin. Every Friday, they could be found busting a line by Rude Boy Rum Shop, bandying about stories about life in general. Never far from their minds was Black Orpheus. Often, as evening settled over Calabash Row, Kevin would lose away himself in deep thought as he sat on his front step watching life ease by. Up here in the hills of Laventil is like we in a favela in Rio where the poor people does live. Watching down on the busy city humming by, he thought. The very favelas where everybody getting ready for carnival like we. And the opening scene with everybody going up a hill, that could be right here. He made the comparison between the film and the real life he was living. And the snake theme, common, eh? Look how it's a snake who killed Kamala in Herman Hesse's Siddhartha. And a snake who killed Cleopatra too. And Hindus have a sapien in their stories. And don't forget there's a snake who tempted Adam and Eve in the Bible. I go have to get the snake character good, he thought, as he devised a huge coiled creature, sculpted out of rolled up chicken wire, padded and covered in black sequin material, jaws wide open with a long red forked tongue to wrap around the black clothed masked character of the killer. Kevin was always thinking. It kept him from the hollow feeling deep in his heart that seemed to grow over time and not heal as he hoped once his adolescent girlfriend Esme had drowned on a school trip by the sea. She too had entered the underworld. From then on, Kevin hated the sea, although he saw it daily from a distance as the hills of Laventil looked out over the expanse of the city to the Gulf of Paria in the distance. The sea is my snake, Kevin always thought thereafter. Then the boys broke his reverie as they came up to Lyme. Look, we get one set of people from foreign signing up to play mass with we, Eric say, holding out some letters with checks. Good. Anybody we know, Kevin asked. Nobody from around here. Sando, I think, Eric replied. You know, Trini does go away and feel lonely and foreign. Then there's big time to banker for home and carnival and thing. Yeah, well, that is how we go make the money, Kevin replied, adding as an afterthought. You know, I was thinking when the band go on the stage, we go act out the Orpheus story now. We have a few 100 feet of stage to have the king and the queen in plain clothes get married, then have the crowd hide them while we jumping up as they change into fancy dress, then have the snake kill she, then by the end of the stage have the underworld guard dog Cerberus show he where she gone. And we go play Jobim songs now, not the road march like everybody else. Man, it's not a play, it's mass. You know the row QRC old boy and mass man Peter Minshall had with the man crab thing in 1983. Curly say it was so much a drama. And nobody know about Orpheus anyway. Nobody learning Latin again, Ambrose say. Look, I don't care who like it or don't like it, Kevin said adamantly. I just have to do it, even if we lose. It's not about money, winning, or prestige. It's about soul. The boys knew enough not to argue with him. Ain't you playing Orpheus? Eric asked, trying to change the tone. Yeah, why you asking? Well, one of the Sando ladies says she could play good money to get to play the queen if you ain't have anybody yet. Eric say. I ain't thinking of anybody in particular. All them local girl who fought bothering me for queen ugly like sin. Let she have it if she willing to pay now. She could send she measurements by Ma Ambrose and get the costume sew up, Kevin replied. You better get she picture on all we. If she dead ugly and fat, she ain't gonna look queenly, Curly chime in. Everybody laughed, breaking the somber mood. Time marched on and Carnival arrived at last. Kevin was beside himself with a million last-minute details. The boys did their part too, making sure all was in place for the big day. Ma Ambrose had all the costumes done up. Jep had the music down to a T. All the posse had to do was wait. Juve morning found the band dressed and already in formation. Only the Queen was yet to make an appearance, all the way from Sando. Where the damn woman? Kevin asked impatiently. Then a car pull up and a vision get down. She was lithe like a delicate fairy, chiseled features, long dark hair with gold highlights, soulful, deep-set eyes that looked into her very being. Kevin stopped in his tracks. Then he looked away as if the vision was burning into his soul. He had not felt like that since his schoolboy crush on Esme. Then his businesslike demeanor returned as he hurriedly went through the choreography of the stage scenes with everybody. We go move, but we jump up going all the time like we act while we acting out the main events from the story. Orpheus and Eurydice marry, then the snake bites she. When the snake bites you, you go bend over limp and I go catch you, he said to the Sando lady. Then Cerberus will carry you by the underworld, which will be by the steps off the stage, he continued. The lady nodded as she rushed off to Ma Ambrose to put on her costume. When she came back, she looked even more stunning. Kevin had that same weakened reaction. I hope I ain't sick, he thought. Man, I'm feeling faint. The band marched down by the savannah, chip into the music, but had to wait in a long lineup for their turn. Half the day done gone, with Kevin titivating himself with built-up anxiety. Ah, chut, man, when this line gonna move? He said over and over. Then the time came for the stage scene. Everybody do well, including Miss Sando. She bent over limp when she did, and Kevin catched she. He felt tingles go through his body when he touched her. By that time, Kevin done know he was smitten, not caring if the band win or lose. God, I opening up myself to Tabanka again, Lord. Why am I so stupid one time, he thought. He was so busy thinking he missed the announcement. They won Band of the Year. Everybody was jumping up and screaming, we win, we win. But Kevin just felt miserable. The band marched down St. Vincent Street on the way to Independence Square, where they dispersed. It was only then that Kevin had some time to speak to the woman. She said her name was Jazz. Well, we ain't win Carnival King or Queen, but we get Band of the Year, said Kevin. Bold choice for a band, the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, she said, although it is one of my favorite stories from Virgil. Of course, the niche film of 1959 from Vincius de Moraes' work is a version of the traditional story that is a wonderful rendition. Man, Kevin was impressed. Smart woman as well as good looking. That is woman for me, he thought. Yes, my friends and me studied Virgil in school and we became obsessed with the story. We always vowed to have a carnival band with that theme. I thought your idea was well executed, Jazz said. Just then, Jazz's friend showed up with her car for the trip back down to Sando. Wait, said Kevin in a panic. Here, give me your phone number, sounding almost pleading. Jazz repeated it twice, adding, let's get together next week. I'm coming back to Port of Spain next Tuesday. Kevin watched her get into the car and wave as it drove away, a promise of the future lying between them. Kevin returned back to Calabash Row before the boys and them. The sun was just setting on the horizon off the Gulf of Paria in the distance. Dusk was settling into the corners of the street, silent now as everybody was still celebrating in the city far below the hills of Laventille. Kevin sat on his front step, the distant sounds of revelry heard from the city below, lights twinkling around the savannah, the steel pan music with its compelling rhythm, filtering up to echo through Calabash Row. His head was filled with a million thoughts. Overall, the day had been a success. He thought of Jazz. They had only had minutes together, yet he already knew he wanted to be with her for the rest of his life. Then, fleetingly, he thought of Esme, and the line from Kafka's story about the lost doll came to mind. Everything you love will probably be lost one day, but in the end, love will come back to you in another way. The end.
Excellent.
Thanks, Heather. Any comments?
Wonderful story. Quite engaging.
And I added lively and realistic as usual. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you, Cynthia and Jenny Lind.
It was welcome.
Yeah, it's great use of the vernacular. It added a spice to that story.
Well, I always like to use the vernacular in all my stories. You know, I guess it's the psychological support one needs when one is in a foreign country away from home. And plus, Daddy always insisted we speak standard English at home, and which was kind of boring.
All right, if that is it, we will move right along. It was supposed to be Althea, but I have her piece, so I will go ahead and read it at this time. Okay, eye catchers. My reflection in a window shows me camera in hand, shows me another woman, the one I would rather be. I snapped 3 photos of myself in that alternate universe, standing in front of a building, reaching for the sky, not scraping it. On a side street, someone who loves antique cars has parked an old-timer, a Chevrolet Impala. It has defined time, refused to become scrap metal in a junkyard. It is making someone happy with their hobby, one that keeps an old treasure shining and running. We are reminded of another time, decades pass. Some guy, some gal we knew, their first car, the mischief they got up to in it, the places it took them to. The memory plasters joy on faces. And moving on, a showcase window catches my eye. It displays, makes me pause. A gray skull of a cow reminds me of the cadavers, relics of a killer drought, death in a desert. The skull sits in a gold tray, surrounded by silver forks, knives, spoons, all sizes, well designed, all polished and glistening. Above it, a mirror, similarly adorned, reflects the scene. A shrine to gleaming argent and to the different versions of me. And to think that this is a window in a secondhand shop, a place where former addicts serve as salespersons. That there is an artist behind the captivating exhibits, someone whose talent may never be discovered, someone who might never be in the right place at the right time. But this could be the right place, the right time. Thank you, and that was by Althea Romeo Mock. Any comments?
Thank you, Gusha. I just slipped out to see the last over with the India West Indies match, but earlier I heard you talking something there, and it reminded me of my 1960 Ford console that I have downstairs that I just went out today with, and I really cherish these old cars. I have quite a few. Thank you.
Who knows how many poems you've inspired, Mutilal, on your rides around town?
Well, you have inspired me also. I always look at my I have a story called A Pan for Parvati, and I remembered we were doing these we give three words, and we we do a very short story, and that happened in the library. And then when I came home next week, I expanded it. So thank you too for that.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that again at another meeting. All righty, if there are no more comments, we'll move right along. And most of us have Althea's email. So if you guys want, you can always email her. And I can send the poem to the group as well. It's actually published in Moko magazine.
Beautiful.
Okay, we're going to move right along to Mutilal. He will be reading Sukram and the Puja. Okay, the floor is all yours.
Okay, let me see what's going on. Okay, are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Anybody? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is a story written by a fellow called Pramnath Gupta, and it's Sukram and the Puja Punchin. Every Indian settlement in Trinidad developed its own religious and cultural traits as the Indians tried to settle down and structure their village operations. Nandi village was no different. The Hindus in the village were diverse, yet they had many commonalities, and everyone operated as one huge family, allowing each to adhere to his or her beliefs. However, with time, adhering to old superstition beliefs, a few fringe religious groups, such as the Kali and Durga worshippers, began to spread their influence throughout the village. Blood sacrifices of goats were made, and soon black and red yard cocks were being sacrificed for material gains such as jobs, money, and grain. But the Orthodox Hindus rejected the offering of blood of goat and fowl cock as part of their religion. Soon there emerged a group that sanitized the offerings using butter, biscuits, rum, cigarettes, and incense in place of animal sacrifices. This soon became an accepted form of worship for special occasions, such as the start of a new project, building a house, cutting bamboo for the Bhagwat Yagna, and such other events. This sanitized puja came to be called Deep Puja or Puja to the Earth. It happened that in 1947, the Panchayat had decided on holding a Panchoti Bhagwat Yagna in the village. Bamboo had to be cut for erecting the tents. Sukram, Rajan, and the local sadhu went to the bamboo stool early in the morning to perform the Deep Puja before the other members of the cutting crew arrived to cut the bamboo. Now, Sukram was a helpful guy, but he was also a known drinker. He could not afford regular rum or punchin, so most of the time he drank beer rum, which was not rum but a kind of limacol. That morning, When Sukram saw the puncheon, his eyes opened wide, and his thirst grew 100-fold. Sukram held the bundle with the puja offerings as the small crew walked to the bamboo stool. The walk to the bamboo patch took about half an hour. During that time, Sukram's temptation grew. He lagged behind the others, and 5 minutes into the trek, he peeped at the puncheon, and his temptation grew. But he resisted the urge to open the nip or the small flask of puncheon. This happened a few times, but when he could no longer contain his thirst, he quickly pried open the flask and took a big gulp of the puncheon. Once started, there was no stopping him. Every few minutes, he took a gulp, and in a short time, the flask was almost empty. How would he explain the missing puncheon to the others? He quickly formulated a plan. He doused a few drops on his shirt and pants and on the bundle. He would explain that the cork was slack, and unknown to him, the puncheon leaked out. When they reached the bamboo stool and the sadhu called for the ingredients, he was surprised to find an almost empty puncheon bottle. Sukram explained how the lost puncheon had leaked out and apologized. The sadhu told him that the deep puja could not be completed without the puncheon. Sukram remarked that there was still some left in the bottle. The sadhu said that it could not be used, since it was juta, meaning it has spoiled because he had already tasted it. Sukram denied he drank any puncheon. Sadhu called him close, smelled his breath, and concluded that Sukram had indeed drunk the puncheon. The sadhu indicated that if the rituals were not completed as it should be, there would be severe consequences, as the spirits would be displeased, especially being offered Chuta puncheon. The trio was in a quandary about how to complete the puja with or without the puncheon, one of the main ingredients of this special unorthodox Hindu ritual, and so the sadhu stopped the ritual, pondering on the next step. Jairam, meanwhile, spared no effort in berating Sukram and his demeaning behavior in spoiling the ritual. Just then, Baiju arrived with a group of men to cut the bamboo. When told of the predicament that Sukram had placed the group in, Baiju smiled and offered a solution. He had bought a bottle of puncheon for use after the bamboo was cut. This was their usual practice, to have a few drinks after cutting the bamboo. He produced the puncheon to the relief of the others, and the sadhu soon completed the rituals. By that time, Sukram was drunk and asleep under a tree nearby. Thank you.
That time when he would drink the alcohol from what do you call it? Limacol. That's a dangerous thing. It's a very toxic. You can drop dead from that.
Yeah, well, actually, is a lot of people who cannot afford to buy regular rum, they drink beer rum. That is what we use to for headaches and all that. And as you say, it's a dangerous thing, Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I remember incident. I was working at one of these methanol plants. That is industrial alcohol. And these fellas used to take the methanol and full bottles and take it home.
Wow.
And somebody died.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's quite a story.
I
All right. Are there any other comments?
Well, just a quick question. Is the story inspired by an experience that you witnessed in the past?
Well, we have a lot of similar stories like that. A lot of that is could be factual. I think one of the things that the story wanted to highlight is that within the Hindu religion, right, there was some how you put it, some outtakes, people who took things to a different level and they started to do animal sacrifice,
Oh,
right? So they started to sacrifice goat, and fowl cock was a favorite thing.
yeah.
But a lot of the Hindus, they wasn't happy about that. But at the same time, they didn't want to offend some of the gods, right? So what they did what we just call a something Sarah did. In that they stopped using any blood. So they used to use biscuit, butter, and rum in their
Oh,
sacrifice to get away from the blood sacrifice. So I think
right.
that is what something that should be highlighted about the story.
Mhm.
I really appreciated your description of that because it was something I know who Kali is, but I had no idea. So I really appreciated it. It's a little piece of explanation, but just slid into the story very smoothly. I really appreciated hearing it.
Yes, well, there are two types of Kali worshippers in Trinidad. There are some Kali temples that actually do blood sacrifice, and there are others that do not do any blood sacrifice. They do this, as again, they call it Sada, meaning from Sada roti.
Yeah,
Yes, meaning vegetarian.
right.
So that is the thing. One of these days I will do a story about a Kali temple that I went, but that's
Yes, please.
it for it. No, yeah, thanks.
Any other comments? Okay. We'll
Well,
move right along. Go
I
ahead,
just want
Muti.
to say that I just want to say that India just beat West Indies with 4 balls remaining. Thanks.
Mm.
Thanks for the update. We'll move along to Vishnu Gosain. He's reading The
Yes,
Trump,
I'm here.
Shorts. Vishnu, the floor is
Yes.
yours.
Right. So initially I was supposed to have done the Trump, but I changed around the story to do a children's story instead. The story is called Papa and the Scooter. Papa's job took him away from his home. For 2 months we lived in Grandma's house on the Cali Main Road. Grandma did own a big board house and was larger than ours. We liked it. Now, Grandma did have 2 tenants, Mr. Wolf and Miss Myra, his wife. Grandma liked them because they paid their rent regularly and they were good company for her. Papa and Mr. Wolf spoke more on weekends than during the week. One day, Mr. Wolf said to Papa, I have a pair of scooters. You think you want to borrow to learn to ride it? Scooters? What are scooters? And immediately Mr. Wolf brought them out. Oh, yes, I know them, Papa said. I saw a man in Shahar riding them. He was riding very fast. Yes, they are good. They give you good exercise, Mr. Wolf said. Do you want to borrow them? Papa looked on curiously, wondering if he could ride them. No, I don't think I want to borrow them. Are you sure? Yes. Do you want to buy them then? No, 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 not at all. Papa's mind was made up. He did not want them. Secretly, he said to himself, if I fall, I would break my hand. That scooter is not for me. I am too fat. Mr. Wolf did not enforce his feeling, but gently added, take it. One day you might want to learn to ride it. I am sure. I don't want to ride it. I heard Papa telling Mama in the kitchen, I'm too fat and lazy. My muscles have no strength. And Mama laughed first before she said, scooters for thin people, not fat so like you. That's what I say, Papa said. Imagine if I fall, eh? If I fall. So the idea shelved. Papa said he would never ride a scooter in his life. And days passed, and Papa returned from work, but he never did look at the scooters again. In the backyard, I saw him stand on a piece of board. He stood on his right foot and pushed with his left foot. The piece of board did not love Papa, but he continued to do it. He did that for a few minutes. 2 days later, he repeated this exercise. Then nothing happened for a few days. And one day, as soon as he returned from work, he changed into his home clothes, took out his scooters, sat on it, and rode with his hands while his feet were in the air. And minutes later, he got off and returned to the starting point. With a broad smile on his face, he stood on his scooter and cracked his fingers. His right foot was on the scooter while his left foot was on the ground. He pushed with his left foot and smiled. And before he knew what was happening, he tumbled on the ground and lay flat on his belly. Mama heard a crash and rushed outside. You okay, man? You fall hard? You can get up? And Papa looked at his knees, and Mama followed his eyes. Last time it was your left knee, this time it's your right knee. And Papa was angry, but said nothing. He shook his head sideways. Stop trying, Mama said. Scooter is not for you. You're too old to ride and you're too fat. And Papa was angry but said nothing. He went inside the nurse's room. He stayed there for a while. When he came out, he was limping and holding his knee. And Mama said, look at you. Look at you. An old man trying to ride a young boy's scooter. And Papa looked at her with his stern eyes. That's the young people. Papa said nothing but winked his eyes at me. Some days later, Papa said, come with me. I went. He strapped his right foot to the scooter and said, hold my right hand. We did this for a few evenings. Papa's muscles were tense, and I knew he was pressing hard against the scooter. On another evening, he said, come with me, and I followed him. And Papa mounted the scooter. Mr. Worf and Miss Myra and Mama looked on. They each held each other's hands. I think they feared Papa might fall again and hurt himself. And Papa mounted his scooter and pushed off with his left foot. I had his right hand, and within a few seconds he said, I'm okay? You can let go of my hand. Let me see if I can fall. And he ran on his own. He scooted on his own, leaning on his left, and then on his right, and then on his left, and then on his right, repeating the position all the time. Be careful, Papa, I shouted. Don't lean too much. Stay straight or you'll fall flat. And Mr. Wolf shouted, keep your head high. Look ahead. You do it, man. Do it. You'll look ahead. Look ahead. Look ahead. You'll do it. And something suddenly happened. Papa tried to hop off this moving scooter. He lost his balance and slipped off the scooter. He went rolling on the ground. Oh my God, my head. And Mama shouted, you okay, man? You fall? You really fall? I think I hurt myself. Call the ambulance. Mr. Wolf rushed to his side. Don't worry. It's only a bruise, man. It's only a bruise. Really? Yes, but bigger than the last ones. Mr. Wolf was laughing inside. Soon, one day you learn to ride properly like a real big man. Papa heard and did as Mr. Wolf advised, and was soon going to make things different. Soon he was far away from us. Then he stopped, turned around, and soon was coming towards us full speed. He was smiling this time. He was happy. Now he knew he would not fall again. Mama and Mr. Wolf began clapping and celebrating. Hooray! Hooray! You did it, man! Papa too was happy that he was now riding the scooter without falling. From that day, Papa always rode the scooter from home to Cali Bay. Very often he carried us to school. We sat then on the back, hanging around, running behind him. Thank you very much for listening. That was a children's story I was trying to write. It's not yet finished, but I thought I'll just run it with the group here and see what they think about it. Actually, I'm writing a few children's stories. It's kind of tough, though. But say what? Thank you.
I enjoyed it very much, so I'll be glad to hear what happens after. Very entertaining.
I enjoyed it very much too, Vishnu, because it's so realistic. I could see this happening in my youthful days. Not that I fell off the scooter, but you know that the attempt to ride, the effort, the practice, and all that. And when we were growing up, it didn't have much to do. So things like scooter, while primarily it used to be for children, we had a lot of big people practicing too, especially where there were hills, you know. So it was very entertaining, and I love the story. And congratulations. Thanks.
Thank you.
What I liked was the message for children. Keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. So it's a very good message as a children's story.
Thank you.
I agree with Moti and Jenilyn. Very entertaining. I noticed a couple of parts in the story. The first person was used. In one place it was we, and another place was I. So I was kind of wondering who was telling the story.
Yeah, I know that's an error there. I have to work on that. That's why I said it's not finished yet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other comments, we'll move right along to Jenny Lynn James. She's reading an excerpt from Escape from Ireland, a memoir of love and adventure in Ireland. Jenny Lynn, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Gersha. So I'm reading from a memoir that I published back in 2013, and it talks about my life in Ireland. So I moved in 2004, and the passage I chose to read is speed dating in Dublin. So I'd just been there 2 weeks, and I went on a speed dating adventure. I went online to see what was happening in Dublin, and my eyes caught an advertisement for a speed dating event on Thursday evening at a bar in town. Aha, I thought, that would certainly give me a thrill or a scare, as the case might be. I filled in the application form, then hesitated for about 5 minutes. I walked to the kitchen, I drank some water, then I came back and I hit the send button. I waited with bated breath to get home from work on Thursday so I could get ready for that event. How many guys would be there? Would they be cute or geeks or jocks or what? Would they have met foreign girls before? What would they think of me? What should I wear? I had to look cute, but not tarty, as they said. My wardrobe was limited because everything seemed to be in the bloody container en route to Ireland. I had sent all my belongings in a 40-foot container from California to Dublin. Should I put my hair up? Should I leave it down? How much makeup should I wear? I settled on a blouse and jeans with high-heel sandals. My hair was straightened and left loose. I wore a reasonable amount of makeup. So knock them dead, I thought. Too bad if they don't notice me. The event was in a bar on St. Eustace Street in Temple Bar. This was the old cobblestone touristy part of Dublin. Looking for the right bar took some time, but I was early. I must have been one of the first to get there. The organizers were at the door to welcome me, checked my name on the list, and gave me a name tag. They said attendees could get drinks at the bar. There was dancing that night after the event. I promptly ran to the ladies' room to powder my nose. No guy would see me as an eager early bird sitting alone. Never. There were one or two other girls in the ladies' room, so I was not alone. I chatted briefly with them. They were both there for the speed dating event. One had done it before, and the other girl was a first-timer. I pretended to be a first-timer. However, I had done this in Los Angeles, and it proved useless. So as a first-timer in Dublin, I waited to see what would happen. I sized up the competition. Look at that one, too fat, I thought. Oh, look at that one, too tarty. Some of them guys might like that. What was I doing? I did not have to compete with these girls. These lucky Irish lads would surely be happy to meet this newcomer who arrived just 2 weeks before, a Caribbean woman who had come via Los Angeles. Now that was a story. When 7 p.m. came, it was time to start. There were 20 men and 20 women. We each had numbers and 5 minutes to get acquainted before the bell rang. The men moved on to the next table and the next, while the ladies stayed seated. My stomach was in knots as I nervously checked out the prospects. Some looked interesting from a distance, but only time would tell. The organizers gave us forms to take notes and a check sheet to hand back at the end of the night. Should we find a match, we were to put a check mark next to the person's name. If a girl selected a guy and he also selected her, then that would be a match. The organizers promised to forward an email by the following evening to each participant with the matches. This seemed easy enough to follow, and so the game began with the first bell. The noise of the discourse at each table was deafening. I had to shout over the din to be heard and make an impression. I had read a book which said to let the guy do most of the talking and act coy. I tried to practice during the short 5-minute meetings, acting coy, but this was not easy. My first prospect was arrogant, telling me about the extreme wealth in Ireland at the time. He must have imagined I had dropped in from the bush in Africa. I wanted to ask him if he even owned property, and if things were so great, what was he doing at this event? I wanted to tell him I had just sold my California property, making a huge profit, and I had bought another one and even brought leftover money to Ireland as a down payment for property. However, I acted polite and coy and just smiled at his conversation. Why am I so confident? I'm hearing something. Anyway, the next guy, Dr. Who's Who, he probed relentlessly with one question after the next. He gave me many names of people I could not possibly know, since I had recently arrived. He seemed 2 feet tall. If I went out with him, I could never wear heels. Even in flat shoes, I could eat soup off the top of his bald head. No, I decided. Then Eddie sat in front of me, This tall, lanky hunk with longish hair really had me hooked. He had the most wicked smile and teasing green eyes. I was mesmerized by the conversation. Maybe it was his piercing eyes that searched my cleavage or his big hands. He looks like a bad boy in his jeans and shirts, which had a couple of buttons undone. I checked yes, triple yes. My heart was a flutter. Then the bell rang. We both stared longingly at each other as we parted. I had to meet him again at all costs. Next came the fireman, tall and drop-dead gorgeous. I liked him, but he seemed preoccupied. The conversation with him was light. I amazed myself at how stupid I could become around a good-looking man. He probably knew the effect he had on the women. I checked a big yes and the bell rang. Next was a red-headed IT guy. We had a very lively conversation about Dell computers. He would be quite handy to date, I thought. If my computer were ever to crash, he could fix it for me. As the night went on, I used various justifications for checking yes. An interesting face, a friendly smile, a worthy job. I must have checked at least 10 possibilities from the lot. It took almost 2 hours to wrap up the session. Everyone was fascinated at my move. Why would you leave sunshine in California for rainy Ireland, they asked. Well, I told them, I have a keen sense of adventure. They were further impressed that I had only been in Dublin 2 weeks and was already at a speed dating event. I figured I could sit alone in the big house on Ballymun Road at night or go out and just meet people. The organizers wrapped up the evening's proceedings, promising to send each person a list of their matches and corresponding email addresses. They were leaving it up to us to get in touch. We were then invited to stay and enjoy drinks at the bar and late night dancing. Like Cinderella, I made a quick departure. I was all talked out for the night and could not concentrate for another minute. I put on my red raincoat and ran to the bus stop. As I stood at the bus stop, out of the corner of my eye, I spied Doctor Who's Who. I pretended not to see him. I held my breath, looked indifferently in another direction, and he disappeared. I went to the office next day and worked with extra zeal, attacking each project. I could barely contain my excitement as I waited for the evening. After dinner, I turned on the computer and waited for the fateful email. At 6:30 p.m., there was nothing in my inbox. Nervous time was spent returning messages to friends, and I could barely contain myself. Finally, just after 7 p.m., as promised, an email showed up from the organizers. The suspense was killing me. I opened the email, and there were 7 matches. So if you want to hear the rest, you can read the story, Escape from Ireland, 7 dates, 7 nights. So
that's a very amusing story. You had me giggling in a few parts there.
And it's all real experience.
You must give a demonstration as to how to act coy.
Ah. Oh, yes. Any other comments?
I am just realizing that I missed a lot in my youth, and I can't go back. I never went through such an exercise, and it's really, really funny.
Thank you, Jenny Lynn, for inviting me to join this wonderful group. You did a great job, all of the participants. I've enjoyed your stories, and hope to read that book, Jenny.
Okay, Julie,
Yeah.
thanks so much for attending.
Sounds very exciting life that you've had.
It was.
Okay.
Well, I certainly enjoyed that story, Jenilyn. And you had me laughing right through because the nearest thing I came to that, I don't know you have any speed dating in Trinidad, is I was on vacation somewhere in Florida,
Yes.
and I was invited for drinks and a free meal. And
Okay.
these people come one by one and they're trying to sell me timeshares.
Oh, timeshare. Yes, yes.
So that's the nearest I came to this speed dating.
Uh-huh.
I think what saved me there is because I do not drink. So I
Ah,
didn't buy any. But thanks. I certainly enjoyed that story.
yes, you're most welcome. Yeah, it was quite a nerve-wracking experience, but a quick way to meet a lot of people when you're new, very new in a city, you don't know anybody, and it's relatively safe because you really decide who you choose to meet. So I say relatively safe at the event
Well,
anyway.
as the doctor would tell you, a lot of psychopaths can be very charming. Right,
Oh,
Frank?
yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
I-
But I did meet I had 7 matches and 7 dates. And some very interesting people. 5 minutes is nothing, but if you spend an hour and you get to interrogate further, very interesting.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't imagine you being coy though. But but I could visualize even being there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading the rest of it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenny Lynn. I think that is going on my to-read list. I'll be visiting Kindle later. All right. Yeah.
Enjoy the madness, I'm telling you.
I'm checking to see if Carlos Shepard is in the room. That's our next reader. Okay, I didn't think so. All right, so we'll move along to Helen. Helen Watley Ames, thank you for joining us and thank you for reading.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. A tiny bit of background is that my father was born and raised in Trinidad, and my mother was born and raised in England. They met in England when he was studying, and then got married, came back to Trinidad together. So this story my father was a doctor, and he was posted at San Fernando General Hospital. And that's the time in the 1950s when this is set. It's an extract from my memoir. In 1950s San Fernando, the doctors lived in a group of cottages near the hospital in a hillside area known as Paradise Pasture. One of the old cottages still survives, painted in bright Caribbean colors. Back then, the paint would have been restrained colonial cream with green trim. 1 bedroom for husband and wife, another for the children, a third on the back for the nanny. A kitchen with kerosene stove and refrigerator. A bathroom where the water only ran cold. The H tap permanently immobilized. I was making $150 a month, said Daddy, and we were rich. We had a car and help in the house. Here's Lily, the nanny. Ma working as a nursing sister at the hospital, and doctors say your wife have a baby and need a nanny. Well, I finished with school and marks not too good, so no civil service or teaching work for me. Ma say hospital work real hard, so I should try domestic. I just take care of the children, bathe and dress and feed, wash clothes and nappies. The yard man Ram come on a Friday. First time he see the baby, blue eyes and yellow hair, he ask, Daddy doctor child? And I had to cover up my mouth not to laugh. Even Madam had to smile. Once the second baby come, Madam hire Agnes, part-time to help with cleaning and cooking. Evenings around 5 o'clock, I just carried the children out for a walk around the pasture. The children playing and I liming with the other nursemaids while Madam and them playing tennis. George would leave for the hospital at 7 in the morning, said Mother, and Lily and I would set to, and by 10 o'clock, everything was in order and the baby was asleep, and I would walk to one of the other houses for a coffee morning with the other wives. The car doors didn't lock, Daddy said, and if you parked the car on the street, you'd come back to find people sitting in it. George didn't like that at all, smiled Mother. It was a terrible car for San Fernando with all the hills, said Daddy, because the hood was so long and straight that if you stopped on the crest of a hill, you couldn't see where you were going. Living in San Fernando, you had to know how to start on a hill and how to steer out of a skid because that car skidded horribly. I learned to drive in that car, said Mother. The police chief was an Englishman and gave all the driving tests. He was known for peppering candidates with quiz questions during the road test. Some young fella would stammer, the people in them on the road, and the chief would bully the poor lad for not speaking standard English. I'll show you, I thought. So I memorized the highway code. And when he asked me a question, I quoted verbatim, like, pedestrians, bicyclists, and other road users. After the second or third time, he grumbled, oh, all right, all right. Stephen didn't like nursery school, said Mother. I would leave the car at the bottom of the hill by the gas station and walk with him up the slope to Miss Leslie's. Every morning he would bawl his way up there with the fellas at the gas station laughing and passing comments. People would show up at the gate, Mother said, saying they had a relative in hospital and they'd brought a gift for Doctor. No, I'd say, you don't have to give him a present now. If everything goes well, you can bring him a present later to say thank you. And they'd turn up again with live hens or ducks or chicks. I would take the train to Port of Spain for a day of shopping, Mother said. I'd let Stephen play on the floor, getting grubbier and grubbier, and I could see old ladies looking at me disapprovingly. And then just before we reached the station, I'd wash his face and hands and change him into clean rompers so he'd be decent for Port of Spain. He'd run and run along the sidewalk because it was flat, not like San Fernando. He'd wear himself out and sleep all the way home. Helen loved school. I thought age 4 was too young to start, but she was never home anyway. She'd ask to walk to the gate with her father, and then she wouldn't come back. And I'd have to send Lily out on a search. She'd find Helen at someone's house playing. Helen ran in one day shouting that a Chinese man was at the gate. Helen, stop it, I told her. Don't talk like that. But he has shiny eyes, Helen argued. And when I went to the door, I saw that he really did. In my head, I hear my parents recounting these stories as if in two-part harmony, though this is a poor analogy. My mother had no ear for music, although Daddy loved it, as did all his family. Could I compare them to tennis players popping the ball back and forth? Well, Daddy didn't play, although Mother had learned tennis at school. That was my parents, always separate yet closely connected. Their stories wove the experience of San Fernando into a web of happiness, their glory days. That's it.
Thank you. Any comments? I'm seeing a lot of applause. I had to mute everyone just to avoid. So if you want to speak, kindly unmute.
Well, the story created a vivid picture of San Fernando in the 50s, for those who are not familiar with San Fernando. So thanks for that.
Okay, well, I was born in 1950, December 27th. So,
That's my father's birthday too.
Okay, and as she says, that San Fernando is a town of hills. And one of the problems with driving in San Fernando, because in those days we had no automatic cars, even when I started driving in 1969, and we had to do what is known as ride the clutch. I don't know if Helen got her license with a automatic or a manual car. So it was indeed difficult.
Yeah.
So, I also I saw, that I saw a kerosene stove in the 70s. There is a village called Moruga,
Mhm.
and at that time there wasn't electricity there, and I had a neighbor. He used to go to the country to buy corn. He had a truck, so I used to go with him, and there was this kerosene stove in there. So, but thanks for Helen, has certainly paint a very vivid picture of what life would have been at that time. And I have heard stories too, about people carrying presents for the doctors, hens and cocks. And one fella took a cow, and he had to take it back home because he said if the doctor is living in paradise pasture, he could have a cow. Okay, so thank you.
I noticed one of the characters is Stephen. Are you related to Stephen Ames?
No, got the golfer, no,
No?
because the Ames part of my name is my husband, excuse me.
Oh,
And
okay.
yes. So actually, strangely enough, he's American, and his ancestors came from a village within an hour's drive from where my mother grew up in England.
Oh.
The two
Paradise.
original Ames brothers.
Oh. Paradise Pasture is where I went to high school in Naparima College.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm familiar with that.
Mm-hmm. And the hospital is what I remember, some of those buildings are still standing. And I believe, at least up to a few years ago, one of the little doctor's houses was still there. I think it was an AIDS information center.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, some of the houses still there, just to the about a little before the entrance to the Naparima Bowl. And down the hill from the hospital, there's still a tennis court there. A lawn tennis court.
Yeah.
So I could connect a lot of things, although, as I say, I was born in 1950, but I went to school in San Fernando, and I could still connect a lot of things. Yeah. Thanks for that, Helen.
Thank you.
I am sitting here smiling because I even have a little spot in this story, because in the 1950s, not for very long, but I was attending the St. Joseph's Convent there in the prep. So I have a little link with South myself, and I can actually picture going down that hill. Not that I went then alone, but I'm back in San Fernando since, and going down the hill there, past the hospital and where the bowl is, and Rushworth Street and so on. So you see how we all have linkages in all parts of the world. It's nice to look back at this, and the learning to drive. Now, I did that in Barbados, but my father taught me to drive at 13. And to him, I owe the ease with which I am still driving. People are amazed. You still drive? I said, yes. The only thing is I don't go on those highways now, because I would die from not knowing how to drive. I would die from the nervousness of the way people drive on the highways. So I said, okay, you're old enough to say you're not driving on the highway, but in Port of Spain, I am fine. I'm comfortable, because if I start to feel uncomfortable at the wheel, I can stop driving. But it's so easy to get in the car. I just went and gave the car a little run before coming back to join you all, because, I'm not driving it enough, but I went around the savannah. So I'm happy to link up with 1950 something. And by a few years later, then we went to Barbados, etc., etc., etc. So that's for another day. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, if there are no other comments, we'll move on. Okay, we'll move on to Dolly. Dolly, thank you for reading and thanks for being here today.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Jenny Lynn said, her stomach is full of nuts, and my stomach today is full of nuts because this is only my second time going to do a poem. This poem is really emotional for me because I wrote it for when I was taking care of my son-in-law. He was ill from a rare autoimmune disease and eventually died in 1 year time in 2025. So it reflects a powerful plea for relief from suffering. At first, it just contained it's a short poem, so it's just 3 short verses. And after his death, I added 1 little verse again. This poem was starting back after in my teenage years. I used to write poems, and I lost that little compilation in flood, and I never wrote again until just in 2025. So I just have a few of those poems, and that is what started me back into the writing of the poems. And for just a little ease of clarification, I will just say I mentioned 2 Hindi words in here, and Krishna is a Hindu god, and he's the creator of the Bhagavad Gita, and he plays the flute, and he mesmerizes his devotees into an enchanted state. And you will hear the use of the word Kali Yuga, and it is a dark period of time which we live in now. So the poem is just a very short poem. It's entitled Dancing with Sri Krishna. So here it starts. This is Kali Yuga, O Krishna. Please dance with me. Energize my broken body with your divine energy. O flute player, mellifluous notes I hear. So I calm my fears, I dry my tears, and dance throughout the cosmos with you, Krishna, everywhere. Now this worn-out body is shed, my soul is now transmigratory. Embrace me close, O Krishna, in this last ecstatic dance to eternity. That's at the end. So,
Thank you. Any comments?
What I want to say to Dolly is Bache Basuri, and that is Hindi means play your flute. So Dolly, you keep on writing, and you want to tell us a little bit about the drawing in the back of you?
Microphone
You're muted,
is
Dolly.
sorry. That is one of my creation. I draw is a mandala sort of art. And it was just, I'll just put in a little bronzish. Mine is more black and white. And it's a little, I'll tone it up, embellish with a little copper and the silver in it. So, but basically all of it is mine. And I have several of mandala style drawings. Quite unique, I would say.
beautiful artwork. Beautiful.
Beautiful. I loved, I just loved the poem. It was so brief and intense. And that image of dancing with Krishna, just beautiful. And the way you spoke it with gestures, perfectly timed. It was very, very touching. I loved it. Beautifully done.
Thank you.
So we have 2 accomplished artists here, you and Jenny Lynn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love the design. And did you do it freehand or like?
Yes, it is freehand because mandala art is more circles and there's everywhere all the lines around.
Yes.
You always have to connect in a certain way. So,
Yes.
so it is all detailed, and I have more intently detailed ones. So
gorgeous. Yes, Helen said, I like how you used hand gestures to emphasize the words in the poem. And let me-
Well, you know, in Indian dance, the hand gestures are meant to convey the story.
yes.
I want you to say that, eh?
All right, shall I move along?
All right, so we're already in our portion of the open mic. At this time, we've everyone that was listed to read have read, and those that were interested in the open mic have read. So I'm going to open the floor to anyone that would like to read that or would like to read it for a second time.
I have a little something, and I must blame Cynthia. I had written this short story, and I'm really a novice writer, you know, and so I wrote this short story, and then I got an email from Cynthia sending me an excerpt from somebody talking about having conflict in a short story. So I was debating: is my story an anecdote, or is it a really true story? So I had to rewrite the whole thing because of the thing she sent me, which was very good. And I rewrote it to have to create a conflict in the story rather than just it being an anecdote. It's. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's about 2,500 words. But the preamble, the preamble is the protagonist is a newly licensed physician in Alberta, Canada, and he's from Trinidad, and he is well received by patients, but now and then, because of his brown skin, he would meet some awkward situations. So he's just finished getting his license, and so he doesn't have an office. He waits for walk-in clinics to call him in to do a shift for the day, and that's how he's starting off making a living. So I'll start low down in the story. I was somewhat of a novelty in the Calgary of 1980s because most doctors were Caucasian in town, and being of brown skin, an East Indian from Trinidad, my presence generated extra scrutiny from patients when I walked into the exam room in consultation. Most patients welcomed me as a new face in the clinic. However, quite infrequently, mind you, I'll get a surprised look with an utterance. Isn't there a white doctor here? I wasn't upset with such racial unfamiliarity. And in response, I would make light with my answer by relating a thought-provoking anecdote, paraphrase from Dr. Riyad Musa, a South African doctor and comedian. And this was his anecdote. Well, a new arrival in heaven fell ill, and a brown angel rushed over to assist him. Maybe he ate some manna gone bad. The ill newbie in heaven, the ill newbie inquired, "Isn't there a white angel available?" The newbie looked up at the brown angel, his face contorted in disrespect. And while in obvious discomfort, he demanded, "And what's your name anyway?" And the brown angel replied, "Jesus." I intended this retort to be a response garnished with levity to the patient's evident unease with meeting a physician of color. Such a measure for measure almost always corrected the patient's behavior, and as well, it dispelled their prejudice discomfort. I prided myself as an easygoing altruistic professional, acting with a calm generous approach to everyone. So I adopted the philosophy that in such cases, I prefer to give the patient the opportunity to engage without prejudice. Usually, I found such encounters proceeded uneventfully once I, as the clinician, is seen as the doctor and not as a preoccupation with race or skin color. So I'll just jump ahead a bit. So the telephone rings. Is this Dr. Raj Balgobin? Yes, it is. Well, this is Molly from the McLeod Mall Clinic. Are you available for a shift here today? Dr. Cooper just called in sick. Yes, I replied with a hint of unguarded pep. Can you get here as soon as possible? We open at 10 o'clock. I glanced at my watch as if I hadn't done so just seconds ago. It was 9:20. Yes, I can, I stuttered. Okay, see you shortly, she said invitingly in a sing-song cadence. I arrived at the clinic, where the main entrance was situated within the mall. I could easily see through the floor to the ceiling. I can easily see through the floor to ceiling glass at the reception area. Molly, the head nurse, and the office manager, together with Tara, the receptionist, were getting preparations underway for the 10 a.m. opening. I arrived at 9:45. A lineup of 6 adults, 3 toddlers, accompanied by watchful, worried parents, had already formed a queue, perpendicular to the entranceway. There was a large sign hanging off the door handle indicating that the clinic was to be open at 10 a.m. I headed towards the door. Pardon me, sir, I whispered as I excused myself with the first person in queue, a man dressed in clothes and boots, all ready for what appeared to be a job in construction. Unshaven, the man wore a weathered face, which was mapped with deep creases that followed the skin's natural dermatological lines, each furrow exposing an evolving mix of anger and frustration. He was obviously discontented because of the 10 o'clock opening, as he might be made late for work. He studied me up and down with contempt, and with a hint of irritation, he tightened his lips. I gently pushed past the man and proceeded to knock on the glass door while simultaneously trying the knob. I needed to get inside to set myself up at my assigned desk to prepare for dealing with a developing horde of patients. Excuse me, sir, I repeated as I held on to the knob, and with a firm twist of the handle, the locked glass door shook with a thump. The unshaven man saw me as an obviously uncouth ignorant from the tropics, and he pointed at the 10 o'clock opening sign and shouted, a yell which echoed throughout the mall. You fucking Paki, can't you read? A murmur of audible gasps moved through the rest of the patients waiting in line at the display of the man's unabashed arrogance. I hadn't heard the term Paki in a long time. I recalled Paki was meant as a derogatory reference to brown-skinned people scorned as immigrants with heavy accents, just off the boat, coming to take our jobs. And of course, Paki was a scurrilous abbreviation for Pakistan, which to the ignorant included all South Asians. Obviously, the ruffled construction worker thought that this seemingly unschooled man was attempting to cut ahead of the queue to get in first when the door would be open. I was startled into brief silence and attempted to reply, but just as I coined my mouth to apologize and explain to the gentleman that I was the physician of the day, Molly opened the door and motioned me to enter. Oh, hi, Dr. Balgobin. I didn't see you. Do come in, please. And without further interaction with the man, I simply nodded at him and entered the office. This way, sir, Molly motioned with her hand. She breathed a sigh of relief in that she was able to get a physician on such short notice. I followed Molly and, with briefcase in hand, was led to the consultation room. Oh, by the way, Molly commented, you know, those xenophobic people who think a newcomer with a different skin color, a rudimentary grasp of English, little money, and no contacts is somehow here to steal their jobs. They must be damn stupid. You heard, I said, you heard the kerfuffle back there? I asked Molly. Yes, the door isn't soundproof. Adam Brown was the first patient to be seen. He was the same man who, at the head of the queue, yes, that one, the you fucking Packy, can't you read one? Mr. Brown entered the room sheepishly, having realized his faux pas, mistaking the doctor for a queue crasher and uttering his bigoted tirade. His demeanor was suggestive of the proverbial tail between his legs. His neck was flexed with eyes focused on the tile floor. His prejudice was shaken on realizing that I was the doctor. I preempted whatever he was going to say by reminding him of a Maya Angelou quote. It's very hard to hate someone if you look at them in the eye and recognize them as a human being. It goes on where I had discourse with the patient back and forth, but it's too much longer to read.
I love it.
And thanks to you, I initially wrote it when it sounded like an anecdote, but now I've put in a conflict with two people involved, and there's a resolution of the conflict coming to the end. Thanks to you.
Well, it's thanks to the writer, because it's just that I know you all are writing seriously. And when I see something that may be of interest, you know, so I'm glad that it gave you some assistance, because I'm just sort of, I'm on the edge, but if I can contribute in that way, I'm very happy to send along things that look interesting, you know, would be you all would be happy to have. But
true, and that's the benefit of the group, where you can get constructive criticism. And I went back and rewrote the whole thing.
Lovely. Yes, yes. You're welcome.
Great story, Frank. Looking forward to see how it's resolved.
Yeah.
Yes, how it's resolved, maybe I'll read it at another meeting, because the meat of the climax of the story is how it was resolved.
Frank, I wonder if you've read any writings by a young Trinidadian doctor in Canada. He's a geriatrician, and he writes regularly. I follow him. His name is Tarif Mohammed. I used to follow him in Newsday newspaper, but of course it's now gone out of business. It's closed down. But he writes about his experiences with patients, and he muses a lot about, you know, the dilemma of older people.
That's
you know,
right.
right. He's a wonderful writer. I don't think he's described any racist experiences during his time in Canada. And I don't know if it's because there haven't been any, or just that's not what he chooses to discuss.
Yeah, in my personal case, it's very rare. I think maybe I can count maybe only twice. I experienced that. Most all the time, one was received with, you approach the situation in a very professional manner, and that took care of the situation.
Yeah.
Yes, Helen, you know, I used to follow that column with that doctor because, you know, I'm getting there. I am 75. So I always read his column in the newspaper, and I missed it. I don't know if it's online or anything, if you know.
He what you can do is you can find him probably on, I don't know if you're on Facebook. Well, obviously you're on
Yes, I
Facebook.
am.
You can find him. So you'll remember his name, Tarif Muhammad, and you can follow him. And then I get his articles delivered to my email.
Okay,
I
can
tried to
you
do
give
that.
us, can you spell the first name?
Tauref.
Okay, I had it correct. Thanks.
Muhammad with two
Yeah.
M's. Yeah. He's a very, speaking to your quote from Maya Angelou, he goes to the humanity in all of the stories. The dilemma, growing old alone, exacerbated, because you can tell in some cases he's writing about immigrant families. But it's really the way he writes and the way he describes the situation, you realize that it's a universal dilemma, facing illness and death and the roles of the kids, and the family, and the tensions and the love, and also the challenges. He's a wonderful writer.
Yes, he certainly is. Just staying on that topic, not too long ago, I attended some sort of symposium, for want of a better word, where they were talking about the elderly. And there is this Reverend Tilak Singh, who is about, he's in his 80s, and he was talking to us, to the audience, and he was talking about, parents who too quickly put their property in their children's name and get put out of the premises, put out of the houses, and and they lose their accounts and all that. And he was saying that, I am 80 something, and I haven't done it as yet. So, but it was very, because he quoted instances, because I think he's in the hierarchy of the Presbyterian Church, and he was talking about real instances. And even in my own experience, I have known in my village, well, there's this particular rule now that if you own property and if you have a little income, you have money in the bank, you're not eligible for what we call old age pension. So a lot of people rush to put everything in their children's name so that they can safely say, well, I don't have anything. And that can cause a lot of problems. So it's something that people should think about. I don't know, I have already given out to my children what I want to give them. So I think I'm safe from that. As you talk about that elderly, and I see we have some time, I thought I would mention that.
I think we all at that age. I mean, you said you were born in 1950. I was born in 47. And I tell people that the other day I went to prepare a cremation, and I asked the guy, well, what if I die in a fire? He said, well, you get half your money back.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I just want to make a little comment to Mr. Modi. You mentioned two names, Premnath Gupta. I think he is a teacher. He was a teacher in Sani Grande.
Yeah, he used to be a head teacher with the Mahasabha board, with the Hindu
Mahasabha
schools.
board.
Yeah.
And he
Later
was
on,
based in Sani Grande.
yeah, but yeah, later on, right now he's a lecturer on film at the UWI, part time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other one, well, everybody know
Tilak Singh.
Everybody know Rev.
Yeah,
Reverend
yes,
Tilak
because
Singh.
he worked with us. He in the Arima court in his younger days. When he was working then, he worked in the Arima court as the JP there. So that's how I know him as well.
Well, he's quite a quite a gentleman. Yeah, quite a way the way he presents his thing. It was they were talking about the problems that the elderly people would encounter, and it was really enlightening. And with a touch of humor in it, it was great.
I have a comment. I'm not putting your children's names on documents and, in a will or a trust or something could lead to problems if you pass away unexpectedly or just from old age. I know what happened with my mother when she passed away. There was some bank accounts where her name was the only name on the accounts. Then we went to the bank and I was told flat in my face, your name is not on the account. And the bank kept the money. There were three accounts like that. And I was so disturbed because they kept her money. And there was no way to get it. They said she has to come and sign. They said she is dead. She is dead. Okay.
But
So she didn't have a will?
I was thinking, did they go through probate?
All the bank accounts were not on the will. Because she was a person who said, she used to say, never put all your eggs in one basket. And she had money at far
and even with the will,
all over.
you have the problem of probate, and it's a long process.
The probate. And so it was just last year that I got, I inherited, my name was on a fund that was in Toronto and she lived in Trinidad, but she had money in far-flung places because she believed in spreading it around. But talk about headache. They said, we want this, we want that. She needs a sign. I said, she is dead. And, crazy.
What I find is a good thing is that things like with property and all that, put it in both of your name, you and your wife, or you and your child, and other things.
That's right.
What I have done, I have given
Muti,
out.
Before you continue, I just wanna, because this is still streaming live.
Oh.
And I think we've moved into the parking lot session. So
yes,
with everyone sharing personal info, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording and stop our live stream. Okay, but please don't leave. Thank you for attending the meeting today.